Okay, so these are all the components we need to set this up. So we have the L298N. We have just a regular stepper motor. It's nothing too special. It's just bipolar. As you can see, it's got 4 wires. We have our jumper wires. So majority of these are male to male, female to female. A couple male to male though. And so we'll be using those. Uh, and let's look at our stepper motor first. So get everything else out of the way. So obviously we have 4 wires, and we need to kind of figure out how to set this up. So if say I look at the red and the green wire, I put these to one. Well, first we need to work out which wires we have to pair. So if we look at the red and green wires and put them together, and then try and twist this, it's pretty easy to twist. Um, Now, if we instead look at the blue and red wire and put those two together there and try and twist, it's a lot harder. So as you can see, I actually had to move my whole arm to get that to turn there. And so we actually know just by testing it like that, you could also use like a amp meter or something like that, but just by putting these 2 wires together, so this is green and black, the other two, so we just tested to see if red and blue were paired. Again, this is really hard to turn. Now if we instead do black and red and try and twist it, it's really easy to twist. So that's how you check what wires need to be paired with your jumper wire. So now let's look at our setting up our L298N. So let's get our screwdriver and get these open. So I've actually already done it. And so the way we're going to set this up is we essentially need our red and blue on one of our paired outputs. So that's output 2 and output 1. Or we also need our green and black on our output 3 and output 4. So let's put these ones in. So our green, we're just going to put in, that's our black, but it doesn't really matter. Let's put in that one there. Tighten that up. Do the same for green, put that in here. Alright, so the last one here, our blue in output 1. We tighten that up there, just like that. So those are all set up now. So our LN2N, our L298N is now attached to our stepper. Alright, so now that that's been attached, you can see how that is. So basically red's gone to output 2, blue has gone to output 1, green is output 4, and black is output 3. So let's bring our Raspberry Pi back in, and now attach this to our L298N. So we're going to need a couple jumper wires for this. So I'll use that one. I'll just use a couple of these. And we will, maybe not the red one, I'll use the blue one. So let's start off with our blue here. And this one is our input 4. So you won't be able to see that on mine, but just trust me, it's input 4. And so we want to put it into pin number 15. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's it. And then we want to grab one of our other jumpers, and we'll pop that on there. And this one we'll just put one below here, which is pin 13. And then for our next wire, we'll go pin 12 and just pop that in over here. No, that's pin 11 actually, so we'll pop that in there. And the last one So we'll pop that one in there. So now we want to set up our ground. So we have both a battery. So this is kind of what I'm rolling with. It's just I set that one up. It's just a 9-volt battery. You could use like a proper setup or whatever. It's just 5-volt to over 5-volt up to 12-volt. I think this particular motor drive can handle, but let's put our ground pins in. So we want to put this pin in here, this pin in here, and we also want to put our ground of a battery. So this is our negative side of our battery, and we're just going to attach that brown wire in with that red wire as well. So let's screw that in. And so this red wire actually is going to attach to our ground of our Raspberry Pi. So basically our Raspberry Pi here is going to be putting out 3.3 volts from these GPIO pins. So we want to be able to ground that. This battery can't ground that. It will be grounding the energy from the battery. So we'll just attach that there, that female to that male, and then we'll move this one into our top ground pin here. Can't really see that, but there we go. So basically, before we attach our positive terminal to our battery, we actually want to put a wire between, well, you want to check this here is attaching these two pins. So there's two pins on this side, and this here is attaching basically the opposite pins on this side. For me though, mine's been lost, and so I'm just gonna attach a jumper there, a female to female jumper into these two pins, but you just want to check that. Because it's a stepper motor, we have to do this. If you're using two independent DC motors, this wouldn't be necessary. Well, you would attach it to the Pi instead. But there we go. That's attached there. And now we can actually just attach our battery. So we'll slide this in here. When you put this into the 12-volt, so this is our positive 12-volt terminal. We're not gonna put anything into that 5-volt terminal. So yeah, as you saw when I just put that in, that LED goes on. So that's how we set up all our wires. And let's run our program. Alright, so this is the code here. So basically we need to import our Raspberry Pi GPIO stuff, like a pre-made stuff made by Raspberry Pi, so that we can run our pins. And then we set them up, so we're setting them up according to the board. And as I said, those numbers there are like the ones that we set up on Raspberry Pi that I showed you are now being used there. So you can kind of just copy this down. This is setting up the pins, so it sets them up one by one and then sets them all to 0. And then this here is obviously an array of array, where essentially it's powering on or off it will be used to power on or off our GPIO pins. So down here, we then call for a user input so that we can know how many times we have to turn. And then here we're basically breaking this down into numbers. So we'll run it X number of times based on this number. So this will repeat through this for loop here, or repeat through until we have repeated it n number of times. And then here we'll run through each of these steps. So we got 8 half steps here. We'll get 8 steps here, and then it obviously goes through each of the pins. So this will basically, well, you'll see it in a second, but this will basically mean that if I enter 50, it'll turn 1 revolution. And so it means that each step, it'll turn 7.2 degrees, I think. So that's a 50th of 360 degrees. So let's try this on our setup that we just made and see if it works. Alright, so I've just put that on the stepper, as you can see, and I'm in my Raspberry Pi menu here. So Obviously I'm running this through my computer, so just we want to hit run here. I've opened the code in Raspberry Pi. We hit run, and it's asked us for a number. That's what we wanted. And to start off, I'm going to put 50 in. And as you can see, that'll make exactly 1 revolution. Now, if we only put 1 in, it'll only turn 7.2 degrees, which is what I said. And then we can put really any number in. So let's just put 267, just a random number, and it'll turn. So thank you guys for watching. As you can see, it's working pretty well. If this did help you out, consider subscribing, because yeah, it really helped me out if you did do that. And thank you. See you next time.